What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 and Bungie updates, as well as a preview for some things associated with the weekly reset this week coming in Destiny 2. So, of course, it's going to be a relatively quiet week on the new content front, but Bungie have given us a couple of heads up regarding some changes they'll make in the Lawless frontier this week, so we'll talk about how that will affect some of the Renegades content. Additionally, Bungie have some server testing going on this week, which could bring some disruption to Destiny 2, so we'll talk about what's worth knowing there. Otherwise, there are a couple of extra minor updates, and we'll round up what we can expect from content in the game this week in terms of the refresh. So, if you guys enjoyed the video or find it useful, a rating would very much help us out on the channel. Also, keep it locked and loaded. We're still anticipating that we'll get some news from Bungie in the next couple of weeks about something. It's gotta happen, right? So, hit subscribe and the notification bell, and it will keep you up to date. But now, let's get into it. First thing we should touch on, in association with Arms Week, of course, it will conclude before the next weekly reset, but Bungie did say since the beginning of the event, we've been investigating an issue where players who acquire a calibration quest on one character are unable to pick it up again and progress on alternates. The workaround for this is to fully complete the quests and unlock the volatile bow mods on the character that they were started on, and unfortunately we won't have time to resolve this issue before the current event ends, but we are planning to have this resolved by the next Arms Week, so unfortunately it won't be fixed. A lot of players were also asking if Bungie could extend the event, but apparently that's not going to happen. So just keep that in mind in case you have any time to kind of wrap it up in this final few hours before we get to the weekly reset. And in terms of timing for future events, we'll just have to keep you posted as Bungie haven't given us an update yet. Bungie did, however, give us a heads up regarding some server testing that they'll be doing this week. So they say we want to give an early heads up about upcoming server testing we'll be conducting to gather data on the back-end changes that we're making. We wouldn't normally post about this, but we anticipate this test may impact some players. So starting at 11 AM Pacific on Thursday, February 5th, we'll be temporarily switching on a server setting aimed at improving back-end world server performance, and during this time, players may see more guitar errors across Destiny 2, especially in longer-running tower instances. This is an expected test outcome that we're looking to resolve in a future update, and as a key part of the data that we're collecting, the test should only run for a few hours and will provide an additional reminder on the day. Thanks in advance for your patience. So, if you are playing the game on Thursday, shortly after the reset, we may indeed see elevated guitar error codes as Bungie do this testing. We don't really know exactly what they're testing. It could even be linked to the Marathon launch, potentially, because that game runs on basically the same servers and game engine. But who knows, hopefully it could mean some positive changes for Destiny 2 stability in the future. We'll just have to wait and see, but keep it in mind for Thursday. In terms of the rest of the content refresh, we're kind of used to the Renegade stuff at this point. If you're expecting any weekly shipments, those show up opposite the spider. There's also the weekly quest that will give us shiny weapons, the Territorial Profit quest that we can see right here. We complete syndicate contracts and contribute ingots to the war chest to make progress with that. But associated with Lawless Frontier this week, Bungie say, we've had a lot of feedback about the mode, including feedback that there are too many double crosses come in for invaders. So we're going to conduct a test this week come in, allowing a job to be invaded up to 2 times during each Lawless Frontier run. The goal is to reduce the number of double cross invasions, but also to better assist fire teams as they'll receive 3 additional revive tokens for each invasion. So if you're in a run and revive tokens are low, an invasion can give you some breathing room if your team is good enough to defeat the invader. To keep things tame, only 1 invader can be on the map at any given time, and this test will run from February 3rd up until February 10th. It'll be available on Grandmaster difficulty runs of Lawless Frontier that have the invasion modifier active. And Bungie say they are looking for feedback on how this actually plays out. So basically what it means is you could be invaded twice per Lawless Frontier run, and I think for a lot of runs that probably won't have a massive impact. Invasion may be a bit annoying depending on your preferences, but it hopefully won't be massively annoying unless of course you're already having a hard time in that run and maybe an invader gets a bunch of kills on you twice in a row. That could have an impact, so we'll just see how it plays out. And if you have any feedback on it after seeing it following the weekly reset, let us know in the comment section. I'm kind of curious to see what it'll be like, so just keep that in mind. Other Renegade stuff is fairly run-of-the-mill this week. We have the refresh for Equilibrium, which only really affects the heirloom exotic drop rate, so 3 chances per week, 1 per character to get that, if you're going to jump back in. And otherwise, there'll be the refresh for all of the Vanguard alerts, so we'll get new featured rewards for the quick play and the 6-player nodes, as well as a new Grandmaster and featured weapon there. So look out for those on Tuesday if you are still running any of them. Of course, they're pretty good in terms of picking up rewards, so if you're a newer player or you are catching up on power or anything like that, definitely be sure to take advantage of these in the Season Hub on a weekly basis. Trials should once again return on Friday, and just keep in mind, Bungie now are dropping Gift of the 9, Honours of the 9, and Benevolence of the 9 shaders on 7 streaks or even 5 wins. So if you're after any of those shaders from Trials, definitely worth keeping that in mind. And of course, we'll also get a new featured weapon this week. Outside of Renegades, of course, over here on Kepler, if I can find it, there are still chances to pick up tier 5 Kepler weapons and armor from the weekly mission. So if you're below 500 power, I think, we can get a tier 5 drop once per week. But of course, keep in mind the sieve, when it's active, is a really good way to get Kepler gear. And there's a loot cave, if you're at max power, that you can use to get tier 5 loot from Kepler very easily. So if you are catching up on any of those, it's definitely worth keeping in mind. The only couple of mentions for the World tab, firstly, include that any of the raids and dungeons on the World tab are totally farmable now for their legendary and exotic loot pools, so you can take advantage of those if you are trying to catch up with any of the raid content from back in the day. Otherwise, in the Dreaming City, we'll also get a new Ascendant challenge this week, and that's Keep of Owned Edges, which is found via Harbinger's Seclude, so not too difficult to get to, but if you want a clip showing the location for that one, I'll run it at the end of the video. But for today, guys, that's what we have to round up in terms of the weekly reset. As always, I'll keep you posted with news here on the channel, both on the Marathon and Destiny front, because of course, we're anticipating news probably about both of them at some point in the next couple of weeks. I know some folks are saying we're not going to hear off Bungie until after Marathon drops, but they still have to officially confirm the timeline for Shadow and Order, whether it is delayed or not, and precisely when it will come out. I'd assume they would do that before the date that it's actually supposed to come out, which only really gives them 3 weeks or so from now. So they've got to say something, and I'll keep you posted when they do that. Otherwise, we might get info about the Marathon open beta or other bits of news associated with that, which I know there's kind of mixed feelings about Marathon, but there's also some anticipation to actually be able to jump in and play that beta. So I'll keep you posted when we get the details. But if you've enjoyed the video today, a rating would really help us out. Hit subscribe, keep it locked and loaded, and I'll keep you up to date. Let us know if you're working on getting anything done in Destiny 2 this week in the comments section as well. But otherwise, cheers for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.